Hello, welcome to Front End Horse. This is Creative Rodeo. This is the first of a new show. We had a brand new show on Tuesday, and this is another new show. I'm just spitting them out. I'm just popping new shows everywhere. Creative Rodeo, and first off, hello to everyone in chat. I will say hi to you in just a moment. I'm so happy you're here. Creative Rodeo is a show that's kind of similar to Component Carousel, in that we are bringing back a lot of your favorite people that were on Component Carousel, like Liam. Liam's going to be on next week. I'm thrilled for that. And we are saying, okay, you made an awesome component last time. Now, can you just kind of walk us through how to do a certain thing? So, for instance, I've been using this Lego analogy. I'm going to spitball it again. Let me know if it works. Basically, Component Carousel is like George coming over and saying, hey, I've got this set for a Lego Death Star. Let's build a Lego Death Star. And then we go through and we follow the steps and we build the Lego Death Star, and it's awesome. Today is a lot more like George just brings over all of his Lego bricks and says, hey, let's build something like a castle. And we can go along the way, and I'll say like, hey, how about a tower here? And how about a cannon here? And he'll say, cool, that sounds great. And he'll show us like how to build castles in a cool way, but we will both have input, and you all will have input. Oh, Aaron got me to say, all right, I'm not supposed to say Legos. Dang it. But yeah, so that's the idea, is that it's still doing creative coding, but like George doesn't have like the end result already in his mind perfectly. We know where we're going. We're going in that direction. Like we're going to end with a thing, but it's not predetermined, and it's a lot more flexible. We can all kind of chime in and say, it would be cool if we put some red in there. And George would say, yeah, let's do that, right? So we're all going to be more involved. It's going to be more like kind of a workshop session. So we're not going to move as fast, not as breakneck, but we're all going to kind of learn like, all right, how do I really get my feet wet into creative coding, into generative art for today? Liam's going to have something cool next week. So I think that's kind of the concept here. If it doesn't work, we blame George and we move on, right? That's how we're going to do it. Not me. It's not my fault. My concept was immaculate. But so I just want to kind of introduce the format, introduce the show, and say hello to so many fantastic people. Anthony, Ben, I'm gonna have to scroll up. There's so many people here. Alistair, Aaron, she's just the one Ben, just Ben Holmes I'm seeing. We've got Tom in here. Yish, welcome. Liam, Banana Stand, Orange Tronic, and Black Plasma. Welcome. Thank you so much for all being here. Let's bring in the fantastic, the person that you're actually here for, and I totally appreciate that. I totally respect that, because George is honestly one of my favorite guests to keep bringing back. Just such a kind person, fantastically talented. I'm gonna hype him up so that when he comes on camera, he's just beet red, just blushing. I'm gonna say the nicest things about him. But yeah, so here's George. George, so thrilled that you were able to come back on, and especially to be the guinea pig for this brand new format. Who knows if it's going to be fun? I don't know, but honestly, can't go wrong with George Francis. George, welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course,
Good
of course.
to be back, making some stuff. We're definitely gonna make something. I don't know whether it's gonna be good, but
It's gonna be
it's
fun.
gonna
I'm
be
turning on my
something. It's
fan because
gonna exist.
I'm already sweating from talking under these lights. Um,
Yeah, it's pretty hot here too.
yeah,
Mm.
but George, you've been super busy with you just put out a CSS tricks article on generative art, right?
Yeah, I did. It's all about making, of course, blobs with the CSS Paint API and Houdini, and it's kind of the Houdini, umbrella of things, and it's kind of designed to be like a good starting point for any folks who want to get into like I call it like generative design using the Paint API. So it's kind of like practical generative UI elements. Yeah, it's it's good. It's quite a long one, but it's definitely a good place to start for that kind of thing.
Yeah, when he sent it over to me, I was like, Wow, this is and it's like a part one kind of thing. Yeah, just I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's a big part one, but then other ones, if you're not sure where you're at with worklets and all of that kind of thing, you can sort of start here, and then you can go on to sort of do lots of other cool stuff. So
Yeah, no, fantastic article. If you have the chance, Andy, good to see you. If you have a chance, and even if you don't have a chance, make time. All right, give this article a read because this is gonna cover a good amount of what we're talking about, or some like there might be some overlap with today and then I would assume.
yeah, it might be a little bit. Yeah.
Let me pull this up. Oh yes, thank you, Liam, for sharing this. So, George, do you want to explain what this is real quick?
Yeah, yeah. So this is sort of some like proper art that I've been working on recently. Rather than kind of just like I've been spending a lot of time doing like little small sort of sketches and stuff, and I thought, oh, it would be quite nice to spend a bit more time on something and that just make something a bit more like official or whatever. So this is like patterns based on reaction diffusion, which is quite a cool thing. And it's a way of modeling how patterns emerge in nature. So if you look at like the spots on a leopard or like the pattern on a fish or something like that, you can kind of almost model how these things are created using a process called reaction diffusion. I think they're also known as Turing patterns. Like Alan Turing, I think, had some stuff to do with working that out like a long time ago. And so these prints are sort of based on that, but they're done in a slightly different way because reaction diffusion takes ages to do to like execute the program,
Got
and
it.
also it's usually pixel based, so it's quite hard to have like really clean like lines, which
Okay.
I usually quite like to have like quite crisp lines. So I've done mine in a slightly different way with SVG and a few other things, but I won't go into it too much because I'll be here forever. But we'll be sort of touching on some elements of this today, like how this works. So hopefully that would be quite cool.
So basically, like my understanding of it, and correct me, is that like we're gonna be talking about some of the like smaller principles today, and this is pretty much the result of like lots of those small principles kind of stacked on top of each other, combined, and
Yeah,
yeah, like just and then built up into this
absolutely.
kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. This is just sort of like lots of little techniques that you can use that, yeah, when you kind of stitch them all together or you build on them a little bit more, you can end up making some cool stuff.
And just in
So
case someone's not familiar with generative art, like how would you
yep.
explain this? Because they might assume like, oh, well, he drew all these circles or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah. So generative art is like any art that is created with an outside influence of kind of like randomness or autonomy. So if there's a few examples I always use, but like just in case it is new to anyone, I know it's quite like it's not the most commonly known about thing. So it's say I was like painting a a picture in real life and I had like a dice. Uh, and I sort of set up some rules. It's like, oh, when the dice rolls one, I'm going to paint a blue stripe. If it's two, I'm going to do a red one. If it's like three, I'm going to do like a green one, and so on and so forth. And I define my rules, and then I roll the dice, and then depending on what it reads, I sort of paint on my canvas, and that's that. Like really, that's all generative art is. It's just art with a little bit of randomness thrown in there. So in the case of those prints, none of that layout is predefined and the colors aren't predefined or anything like that. It's all generated when the program runs randomly. I don't know what it's going to do, but I sort of know how it's going to behave roughly. So that's how that kind of works.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so I'm imagining you've run this function essentially a bunch of times, and if you see one that you like, you kind of like hit save, and then you keep hitting it again, and you get like a
Yeah.
lot of like junk, but then you hit save on one. Is that pretty much?
Yeah, the funny thing with generative art is to get really cool ones, most of them, in my experience, probably because I'm not as good as some people, but like most of them need to look really bad and then some of them will look like really, really good. Like I often find if I can get them all to look like, oh yeah, pretty cool, like that's all right, but not like really interesting. Whereas if most of them look bad, the odd like the 1 in 10 is going to look pretty cool. So it's definitely a case of lots of refreshing and tweaking and then
That makes sense
saving
to
and
me
waiting
though.
10 minutes. Yeah,
That
it
makes sense
can't be
because
like
the more variance you have, the more chance for like a like whoa, that's really really beautiful. But if they're all in this like average band and there's
yeah,
no potential for them to break out or break down, right? Then they're all going to
totally.
be
Yeah.
they're fine. They're all fine, right? But that
Yeah,
that makes a lot
yeah,
of sense to me.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's got to be a bit of extremes in both, in both ways, and it
Yeah.
ends up being cooler stuff. Yeah.
Was there any specific because you've made this outline for us and I really appreciate it. Intro to
hmm
generative patterns. Were there any specific ones that you wanted to touch on?
Uh, oh, I should have. I really should have thought of some
Oh,
actually.
oh, so
I
so
I didn't.
I want to clear this up right away so you don't feel like you have to say that. I told George like, hey, just come on and kind of chat about what you know and kind of walk us through it. This isn't a thing that I told George to like plan, for like 5 hours and have a whole like workshop and he knows what he's gonna say at minute 17. That's not what this format is. It's just like a George has like just knowledge of having done this so much that he can walk me and probably a lot of you through it way better than um, you know any of us could. So it's just kind of the same way that you might be able to walk someone through, I don't know, setting up an 11T site or whatever you're really good at and do often. George can come and do that for us. And so I'm not expecting George to have like specific plans. So I just want to make sure George and none of us were expecting that from him. So
Well, thank you. Yeah, because I have. Well, I've got some ideas, but yeah, like going to be quite off the cuff, and we can just
yeah,
sort of see where we go.
no,
Sort of see
that's
where we
that's
go with
that's
it
the
and stuff.
process.
Nice. I don't. I'm trying to think of some good generative patterns now. I've got some, but then I
Yeah.
don't really want to. Not don't know whether I want to share those.
No worries.
Um,
I'm happy to go where you want to lead, George. So
let's
if you want
just let's just make some,
to, okay, let's
because
do it.
so think of these as so the way that I'm coming at this is like, say I'm making a website and
Hmm.
I've got like a blog post and there's a big header with like a big H like heading this, and then like lots of white space around it, and I'm like, oh, this is cool, but it would be nice if I could have like a cool pattern that sits behind it, type of thing. Or if I wanted to do like a social image, like a social card that you'd have on Twitter or something, and I've got some text in it, but there's the background's just like a plain background, and it's like, oh, it'd be cool if I could add something in here. And so what we can do is we can use generative techniques and approaches to make patterns for that kind of situation really well, that are just sort of infinite, and you can just generate as many as you want, and you can have them be like different for everybody that sees a page, which I
Right.
think is quite cool on the web. This notion of like everyone getting a little bit of a different experience.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it makes it feel a bit more organic. Like if
Yeah,
you
and
were
I think that's why
walking,
people love your site. Your site has this at work, right? So like what
it does have some.
when you
Yeah,
said that like for the H1, I thought immediately of your site. So like there's a green, yellow, red, but if I
yeah,
refresh, red, yellow,
kind of
red,
different ones.
and this is going to
Yeah,
change a
I
little
could.
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I think you did a great job, and that's just fun. The eyes are fun. But yeah, like I think of your site when I think of like adding those nice touches, and they're really fun touches. I agree.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, so I thought we'd sort of work on something that could be good for that like use case, right? Because you can keep it quite simple and then sort of see where it goes with something like that. So to start, I thought we could do like a simple pattern, which is just a grid um, of things, and in each grid cell, we're gonna just add a random shape, and hopefully we'll end up with one of those sort of like geometric patterns that you see. They were on Dribble and like around quite a lot a while ago. I'm not sure if it's how much of them are still around, but I mean that's kind of irrelevant anyway. But
Yeah.
they
If it's a
yeah,
dead trend, you can't bring it on my show,
it's
George.
it's a dead
I
trend.
This is only the
I'll
coolest
just leave
trends
now.
here.
Yeah. So
Real
let's.
quick, would it be
Yeah.
cool if I'm just gonna paste this in pen form into
Mm.
the chat so that they can fork it because this is a public pen. So
Oh
I'm just gonna
yeah.
paste that there. Chat, if you want to fork it, George invents skeuomorphism. That's brilliant, George. Good job. um, yeah. So chat, if you want to fork it and kind of follow along, we're not going to be like stopping a ton and waiting or whatever. But I kind of want this to also be a format where like you can kind of learn in a hands-on way. Where with once again with component carousel, we've got to keep it snappy. So just want to provide that to you. And sorry to keep interrupting you, George. I hope I'm not throwing off your train of thought too
That's all
much.
right. Oh yeah, no, no worries. I was just thinking about grids. So shall we get started, I suppose? Shall we pop in
Let's do
and
it. Let's do it.
start making something? Cool. So I'm gonna head into the pen now. And so the first thing I think we should do is make our little grid so we can put stuff in the
Okay.
grid. So I've got a little bit of code here already, which is just defining like a width and a height, which is going to be the width and the height of our pattern or canvas or however you really want to look at it. It's
Okay.
just a square. There's
Got
just
it.
a square, and it's 200 units by 200 units.
Oh, is
And then
this
we're
in? Ah,
creating,
okay. We're in the JavaScript. Cool. Got it.
yeah, and the JavaScript, yep. And then we're creating a new SVG element. I use this thing called svg.js for doing all my generative SVG stuff because I don't know if you've ever tried to script SVG just by hand or like without a library, but it's very it's very wordy. There's a lot of words, and svg.js just kind of like greatly reduces the words. Like
All
so I
right.
like it. It's very
I
terse.
think that's its tagline. Just fewer words. It's just
Feel
SVGJS.
much
Yeah.
fewer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so we've made an SVG with the VBox set to the width and height, and that's just been plopped on the body. So we can just draw everything relative to that width and height now, and because of SVG, it will just scale to whatever size. So that's awesome. Don't have to
Cool.
worry about any crazy
Yep.
like resize logic or anything like that. That's all good. So yeah, let's make a grid. So the first thing we need to decide is how many columns do we want? So we can say like cols would be, I don't know, maybe 10. And how many rows do we want? Probably 10. And then to calculate how big each column and row should be, it would be, so we can define like a col size variable is equal to like width divided by how
Divided
many
by
cols
calls.
we want.
Makes sense. Cool.
And then row size is height divided by rows. And then we can have a little loop where we do like x is less than width, x is then incremented by the column size, like
All
that,
right.
and then
Hold on
oh, that's
one
not it.
sec here, if you don't mind. So, what's
Oh
this loop
yeah,
going
yeah, yeah.
through?
So this is kind of am I missing a little? That's better. So what this is saying is we've defined our column size and we've which is the width divided by how many rows we want.
Right.
And this loop is saying start right way over on the left and then go up, move this way by the column size, and then move this way a little bit more. I'm not sure if you can
Got
see it
it.
on the camera,
So,
but I'm kind of
yeah,
just
yeah,
going across this
yeah.
way.
It's
I'm
going
kind of
great.
just
Yeah.
hopping
So
across
we're
the.
increasing by column size. So this is going to jump by 20 per. Am I doing that math right? Right.
Yeah, it
The
is. Yeah,
column size
that's it.
should be
Yeah,
20. Cool. So as
exactly.
okay, so once it's bigger than 200, it'll stop, and we're gonna add 20 to it each time. So we're gonna do
Exactly.
10 things. Got it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks for running through it because this is one of those like muscle memory things that I write like
Yeah.
all the
No. No.
time, and
No. No
you
worries.
never really think about you never think about how it actually works. So
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
yeah,
I know
that's great.
nothing, and I'm happy to ask questions. I'm just like, what is? Yeah. So that's why I'm here.
Cool. Well, we can test it out anyway. We can do like we can draw a rectangle, um, which is the col size and the row size, which
Ah,
are the same, and then we can say x and dot y would just be 0, and you should see
wow.
hopefully
Yes. No. I
that
see
we
it.
have like a line.
So this.
Yeah,
So you aren't kidding about this being fewer words. So,
yeah.
okay. So just so I understand SVG JS a little bit better,
Mm,
because we've built SVGs before together, but it was in React, so it was like very declarative, and you just like got to like um,
yeah.
just actually make the thing. And Liam
Hmm.
says he loves svg.js. Yeah, this is really nice. So this is us creating the actual SVG um, element itself, and then this is us inside that SVG creating a
Yeah.
rect element. And so if I inspect this, I should see a rect inside our bigger SVG, which has a 200 by 200 view box. Awesome. This is really, really
Yeah.
handy. That was very concise for what I just
Yeah.
wasn't expecting it to be that small. There's way fewer
Yeah, it's
words.
very terse, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's super cool. I love that about it. So yeah, I mean we've done that, and then what we can do now is I've pulled in a few little functions, like utility functions that I use a lot for generative stuff, that we can use in this. So just to sort of test what this is doing a little bit more, so we can see the different squares, we can give each one a random opacity, so something between 0 and 1. And we should, although we're going to notice a little bit of a weird problem, because right, oh no, we're all good. Yeah, so now we have like a square on each thing, and each one
Yeah.
has like a random opacity, but we only have that top row, um, which isn't
Right.
really what
We're
we
only
want. We
looping
want to
through
go both
once.
ways.
Right. But
Yeah,
just wanted
so
to touch super quick on the so you have your own pack of generative utils that anyone can use. So if you use the same kind of
uh-huh.
import, yeah, you have some very handy functions here. So just wanted
That's
to
it.
say
Yeah.
where random was coming from.
Yeah, there's a lot of functions in there. There's not very much documentation yet. I'm one day I'm going to make it into a real library,
Yeah, no,
with
no. So chat, and
tests
I
and
think that
things.
Liam just said like that package is well worth exploring. Yeah, chat. If you know I think part of it, George, comes from like demand, and also people could help you out with it, right? So if
Yeah.
people wanted to do a pull request, would you accept that kind of thing?
Oh, yep, for sure. I love that. I love different people contributing to things, and trying to contribute things to other people's stuff where I can. So that absolutely, it's open. It's for everyone to use, and everyone to do whatever they want with.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And Liam, thank you for dropping that link in the chat. I appreciate it. Yeah, so if people
thanks, Liam.
wanted to help out with documentation, it's a damn good library. So let's make it
Thank
easier to
you.
use for everyone. So cool. Sorry to keep interrupting, but I'm gonna keep going. So
Oh, no worries. All good. Oh, it's got a proper build step as well now. It didn't used to have one, but it's got one now,
nice,
so it should work in
nice.
most places. It's getting there, slowly but surely. It's getting there. So right back to the grid. We've gone this way, but actually, what we want to do is for each cell in the top, we want to then go down and do all of the rows. So for each column, we want to hop over here, and then we want to hop down and do the 10 rows. So to do that, we just have a little nested loop where we would say exactly the same kind of logic. Y is less than height, and then y plus equals the row size, which is cool.
Yeah,
And that should work. And then what we can do is pop that in there, and we can set the y to y. And then fingers crossed, we should have a grid. There we
yeah.
go.
It's like a big bulky QR code. It looks
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Or like
totally, yeah.
a
And then
Minecraft gravel texture or something, right? Yeah,
yeah,
like
for sure. It's
that's
very much that vibe. And if we up like the columns and the rows, you can get like kind of a more
oh
detailed you could get a more detailed
yeah,
grid, which is pretty cool. And then there's a lot we can do with this, but we can sort of what I might actually do for now is randomize how many columns and rows there are. That might be quite cool if we do that, because right now
sure.
it's static, but it might be fun to randomize it. So rather than columns and rows, we can say like, I don't know, resolution or something. And then we can set that to a random value, which could be somewhere between 8 and 24. And then I want that to be an integer so that I can actually, no, I don't. Yeah, I do. I do want an integer. So, and then I can use that for that. And
Got it. So
hopefully
that's
we
going to
get
keep it
random.
square. because
Mm-hmm.
we're doing for both. But it's going to
Yeah.
make this so that whenever what's the there's a assets, no, not assets. There's like a keyboard shortcut. Is it this for like
Oh.
rerun pen? Yeah, I think I just triggered it. Yeah, it's Control-Shift-7, I believe. Let me see if that actually
Um,
works. Or am I just, yeah, no, that did work. So yeah, every time you
oh
trigger
yeah.
it, we're going to get a number between 8 and 24 for the resolution. And that's super cool.
Yeah.
So I just want to point out to the chat, we just did generative art, right? Like we're already there, and the tricky bits are, or not the tricky bits, but the parts that are unfamiliar to you maybe are primarily, I'm assuming a lot, but are probably primarily going to be this SVG library, and I mean just this specific random function. But if you just do math.random, you can get the same
Exactly.
result, right? Like especially for this one, this is exactly what math.random is going to give us anyway, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
That
Well,
you could
yeah.
happily replace that with. Well, I'll do it.
I
That's not
dare
where
you.
I should be.
That's
I want to be here. So yeah,
yeah.
do like a map at
I'm just trying
random,
to
and you should
make it
get it.
so that everyone kind of sees like, oh, I could do this right now, right? Like all I need to do
Yeah.
is just yeah, like it can be that simple. We don't have to immediately jump to what we saw on your Twitter, right? Like that might be what people think
No,
of with
no.
generative art, and it's like, how the hell do you even
Yeah.
start, right? Like that looks so wild and out there, and wow, we just did it. And so like I said before, we're like that end result on your print is lots of little things like this, like building from a grid, just
Yeah.
made more complex and like built on, built on, built on, built on. And Marlon Marcello in the chat, great to see you. Thank you for coming through.
Nice. Well,
Um,
on that note, we could sort of make this before we even do any shapes or anything. We could make this cool. I mean, we could make something just with squares that I think could look really good. So, do
awesome.
you want to try that?
I would love to try
I
that.
mean,
Let's give it a
try
shot.
and keep it really simple for my sake and for everyone else's, so I don't get really confused.
All
No,
good.
it'll still be good. It'll still be good. So let's just get rid of that
Okay.
opacity for now. And so we've got lots of rectangles, and
Yep.
but we'd like to give them all like a fill color. Like a to start, maybe we can go for like we'll pick like a base hue, and then we'll pick some other colors to go with it. Although to start, we can actually just give each one a completely random value, because this is
Okay.
quite an interesting way to go through how you can think about color in generative art. So to start, we can say pick a hue the hue is going to be a random number between 0 and 360, because on a color wheel, that's where all the hues are. It's going to be somewhere between 0 and 360. And then we can say the color is, I'm going to use HSL here because HSL is really nice for
Mm-hmm.
generative art. It just feels a lot more, well, it's really nice for everything, for UI design and for generative art, but it feels very like natural just to be able to say, make this lighter or darker, or make this more or less saturated, rather than being like trying to just tweak fairly arbitrary, RGB values or whatever.
Or if you're trying to do like
So
a
this is,
rainbow effect, it's way easier just to change the 0 to 360 than it is to like
yeah.
hex. Good luck, right? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
It's much, much, much easier. So we can use that here and there, and then we can say that saturation of 75% and another saturation of 75. If I can, oh my, that is not how you type. There it is. Okay, cool. Then we've got a color set, and we can say make that square our random color, please. Hey.
Wow. That's okay. So,
And then we've got some nice, really, really colorful squares,
yeah. Cool. So all
which
we
is
did is
looks
just
good.
change this bit from being the random sorry. So this was opacity, right? So it had a default fill of black, and we were
Hmm.
changing the opacity from either 0 to 1 or like 0.5, anything in there. And so now instead
Yeah.
we're picking a random hue, and
Hmm.
we've got a constant saturation and lightness. And so That's why they all kind of
Yeah.
feel similar, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's really cool.
Which that's a
It's like
good point though.
I think this is how they make Easter camo, right? So like when the army gets deployed on Easter, this is what they wear, right?
This is actually what, yeah,
Yep.
this I'm pretty sure it's generative as well, I've heard. So yeah, it's all a little bit different. You can't predict the patterns. But yeah, that's a good point though. They're all the same lightness. So it's quite good sometimes to with generative stuff to like rather than having every single thing just like one color, and we'll probably touch on this again in a bit, is to like very slightly change each element's color. Because if you were like painting or whatever, it like every single thing you paint, even if you use the same paint, it's not going to be exactly the same color because there's you might apply slightly more or slightly less. Or I mean, I can't paint, I don't know what I'm talking about, but like it's always going to look a little bit different. So quite a nice trick is to if we said like lightness, and we set that to a random number, and we said somewhere between like 70 or maybe like 65 and 75. So it goes sort of 70 plus and minus 5 would be cool. And
Okay.
then we can use it in here. It might be a little bit much, or it might be all right, but we can use it to just like
That looks cool.
it's so they all start changing. It's really subtle, and it will probably become more obvious if we. So right now all the colors are just random all the way across the spectrum, which is nice if you're trying to go for that vibe, but
If you're
like you
into
might
that,
want to look if if you're into it, like this is cool, and I'm into it. Like I love this kind of thing, but you
yeah.
might want to like lock it down a little bit. So we can pick we can constrain our hues a little bit. So a really good trick I find is to go for like start at one hue and then add like 60. And I think that's an analogous like color palette, I
This is actually
think.
like how we
But
met, right? Like I think I covered
I think
one
it
of your pens
is.
that was doing that. I I wrote it in my newsletter and got it wrong and had to go
Oh,
back
did you?
and fix it. Yeah, and like I had reached out to you because I'm like, hey, can I cover your generative share card pen? And
Hmm.
I saw that you were doing this trick of like you pick a hue, and I think you added 60 and then 90 or something like that. And I was like, oh, he's using tertiary colors. He's using some color theory, and
Yes.
and I went back and checked. And I'm like, oh shit, it's that's not actually what it was. It was just like a nice way of doing it. So I had to go back and fix it. But it's
Well,
something. It's a cool color trick to basically move around the color wheel in an interesting way.
it's cool. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, man, like when I read your write-up, I was like, it's news to me. I don't know what it is. Like, cool. Like, you could have said it was anything, and I would have been like, oh, nice. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. But yeah, anyways, we can we can lock this down a little bit more and
Here,
pick a
so
number like
this is the
between.
fixed one. This is the fixed one. So this is by adding 90 and 180 to the first value. George is using what's called split complementary colors, or maybe this isn't fixed. I'm pretty sure this is. It might not be. I don't know. This might be. See, I go by like the Snapple Cap method for front end horse. Like half of it's fake, half of it's just made up stuff. It's not even true facts. Um, so this could be nonsense, but basically, this is like if we start here at 0 and add like 90 or whatever, we're doing something nice. Yeah, that can't be right because 180 should be right here. So this is still wrong. This is still wrong, right? Because 360 would be
Oh,
back around.
yeah.
This is still wrong.
It's all right.
I don't
It's all
know.
right.
Anyway,
Don't
this
worry
guy's a
about
hack right here.
it. Look at those colors. Like they're
Look
kind
pretty
of
cool.
in the same world now. I don't like that though too much. Maybe we should do like I don't know, maybe like 140 through to like 200, just to like make it a bit more. Not gonna pretend I know what color that's gonna be. Blue. So yeah, you kind of start getting these little shapes come out, these little variants on the color, which is super cool. And then what I think might look quite good is if you then scaled each of the rectangles a little bit, so they're not all like right next
Oh,
to each other, and then you
okay.
kind of start getting some quite cool stuff going on, which
It
I kind
feels
of dig.
like a cool like pool tile kind of effect almost, right?
It's it's very pool tiley, and it's kind of GitHub contributions graph vibes, isn't
Yes.
it?
This is exactly what
It's
mine looks like for sure. I eat, sleep, and breathe code. That's all I do, man.
Oh, oh no. Um, that's too that's
Too
too
real.
saturated as well.
Okay.
Too real. Too real. So all right, so we've got some colors and we've got some squares and it's good. So what can we do next? Maybe we should move away from the squares for a bit and draw some different shapes, if that sounds cool.
Yeah.
And start creating some different kinds of patterns. So, I mean, if you wanted, you could totally just hang out on this for like ages and like tweak stuff. I'm gonna just change some random values here,
Yeah.
and just kind of tweak stuff until you liked it or
Super quick.
whatever.
Does this kind of generative grid process, like what we just did, does this have a name that you're familiar with, or that you know of? Like if you were to say like, you've used the Kipling technique. Is there?
Oh, again, no,
Just
I have
curious.
absolutely no idea.
No,
I
no
don't
worries.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you'd call this. It's just kind of putting random stuff on a grid,
And
pretty
so it
much.
was the Kipling technique. I mean,
Yep,
I think I just named it, so I think we're good.
we can go with that. Yeah,
Yep.
that's cool. Nice.
Someone
So
write that
yeah,
down.
all right.
That's really
Yeah,
nice.
uh,
I mean, like, see, once
yeah,
again, it's that thing of like you have to have not that the other ones were bad, but like some will just be like, ooh, that's I like that color. I
yeah,
think it's because the squares are bigger, right? And so you might tweak from there. Is that accurate? Like where you kind of go like,
yeah.
so I like bigger squares. The little squares don't do it for me as much. Let's change the numbers and only stay with big. Or I don't like the blues. Let's
Yes.
only go with reds.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right on there, because I've just increased the resolution value a little bit, so it should usually be a little bit higher now because I'm not a massive fan of the little tiny squares, but that might change in a second when we start adding different shapes to the picture. Like I actually think that 48 might be a little bit big, so I might bring those back down.
Okay.
So I'm going to pop back into where we were drawing our rectangles and just comment that out for a second. And then
Okay.
what we can do here is say we need to make a choice. So a little bit like what I was talking about earlier with the dice, we need to sort of roll our digital dice and choose what shape we want to draw. So we can say, just for now, if random 0.1 is greater than 0.5, we're going to do a circle. Otherwise, we can do a square.
Oh, cool. Okay, so we have 50% chance of drawing a circle or a 50 or a square, right?
Yeah, they're just
Cool.
like a flip of a coin. It's like a coin flip, this one.
Right.
So
Quick question from Tom in the chat. And yeah, so Tom's asking, is the scale method always transforming around the center of the rectangle? Is that just how that works?
yeah, unless you change it, I'm pretty sure it'll always be around the center. Like SVG JS does a lot of like really handy stuff with stuff like that, where you can just and you can use like the CX like center X value on things that don't usually have that value
Oh,
to
wow.
sort of anchor it by the center of the element, which is just really nice. You don't have to be like, oh, the X plus the width divided by two and like all of that kind of that kind of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a massive deal to have to do that, but it's just
It's,
nice not to have to
I
do it.
mean, it's a thing that I constantly, as Tom is saying, I constantly have to go in and go transform origin center or something like that. So yeah, having it as the
Yeah,
default's pretty nice. So that's
it's
cool.
really nice. Yeah. So I mean, for the rectangle here, we can
Bring that down,
or
maybe.
the square, we can just copy it and pop it in, and then we should have like some
Half.
squares.
Yeah.
There we go. So half and half. So some of them are
Around.
going to
Yeah.
be that, and some of them aren't. I'm going to make them a little bit smaller because they're feeling a little bit tweaked between each one. So
That's
hopefully
cool.
that's better. So it's funny, just one little change it
So
starts to feel
what did
much
you
nicer, I
change?
think.
You changed the 9 to a 7.5
Yeah, I brought
or
them down just like a little bit. I did, so they're a little
0.75?
bit smaller now. Yeah, so it was at 0.9 and now it's at 0.75.
Cool.
I'm kind of getting bummed out by the big grids now. I've gone off them. I want to go back to the smaller ones. That's cool.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
nice.
yeah,
We
yeah.
might come back.
No, my comment earlier about like, oh, I like the big. That's not like this show is now about
I
big
did too.
grids.
No, I liked them too for a moment, but
It's all good.
I've since changed my
That
mind.
was the old trend. Don't worry about it. I'm not very trendy. I get it.
Yes. Oh well, I mean, I don't know. We're not worrying about trends here. We're just
That's
making
play.
cool stuff. It's all good. So yeah, so circle you can just do. Oh, do you mind moving your cursor a little bit
Yeah,
in
yeah,
this
yeah.
code pen? Because
Thank you for
that's
asking
better.
because I've had that before where it's like, oh no, I can't read. Right? It's a little bit funky because my name blocks things.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, it kind of does that.
Yeah.
Um, so what I'm doing here is saying, uh, yeah. So we don't really need this, but you might need it sometimes. So what I'm saying is, make the radius of the circle that we're drawing the smaller value of the column and the row size. So if you had a smaller row, it would still fit within the cell. If
Oh.
you catch my drift. Whereas
Yeah,
if I
so
just set it to one
that's
of them, it might break.
if these were different.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a grid of squares, but a grid of maybe rectangles, maybe squares, right? So like if we
Exactly.
had two randomized resolutions, or even if we set them, this would
Yeah.
make sure that um, we're still just giving it one radius, and it's gonna be the smaller one, so it's not busting through and running into a square somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. And just, well, I mean, to demonstrate that, we can just drop that and we can randomize the column and the row sizes in there. And then when
Yeah, it looks
should
junky. It looks
should look
it looks
it
weird for
looks
me.
all right for me.
You
It
see
might
my
be a
screen?
weird.
You see how it's like not the gap, or
Yeah.
it might just be the gap because it doesn't have the scale like the other one does. That might be it.
I realize what I've done wrong. This would work best if you had a grid that was like in a different aspect ratio. So say if it was like that your width was like 1920 and your height was like 1080, then
Right.
this way would help it like scale a little bit better. But yeah, you might not necessarily want to randomize those values. That's a good shout.
Got it.
But yeah, anyway, we've got that. So make sure the circle always fits in this little house, and then we can say the center x value of that circle, which is say anchored from the middle, would be the x plus the column size divided by. Oh no, we don't really need to order
What's going
it.
on?
Let's see. Hang on, I need to
Okay.
write it,
Cool. And then we'll talk about it.
and then we'll talk about it and see if it works.
Whoa.
It does. Good.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Um,
So
so yeah,
sorry.
what we're saying is just sort of like anchor the circle in the middle of each of the little cells and make sure its size isn't too big for the little cell that it lives in. That's all we're really saying there.
How does it know where to go?
How does
What?
it know where to go?
Oh, so the y. Yeah, okay. So it's going by as we loop through, these get set to the column and the row. So like
Mm-hmm.
as we go through, if this was still 200 and this was still like, say we're getting 10 and we're back to col size being 20 each time, right?
Yeah.
The first time through x is 0, but then the next time through x is going to be 20, then 40, then 60, then 80.
Yeah.
And so it's going to place it. It's going to place that circle at like 80 plus the column size, which is 20
Mm-hmm.
divided by 2, so 10. So it's going to place it smack in the center of each. Got it. I was just trying to figure out
Yeah.
how it knew to place the circle here and not just at the beginning. Cool.
Yeah. That's how it knows. So it's the same logic really as what we were doing for the circle, well, for the square or the rectangle when we're saying that you put X and Y at the top left and top right of each cell. It's the same, but it's just anchoring it towards the middle.
Got it.
And yeah, so they're all in there now, which is great. But they're a little bit big, so I'm going to make them a little bit smaller using scale again. And so they're all kind of sitting now in a similar way to the squares, which is really nice.
Right.
And we can apply the fill in exactly the same way as like the rectangles, like that.
Does the order matter here?
No, it doesn't matter.
You just want to
It's
keep it the
completely
same.
arbitrary. Yeah, try and keep it like the same, but
Amit,
you really don't
welcome.
need to.
Oh, this is
Hey.
cool.
Yeah, so now you'd
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's quite simple, but it starts to look quite quickly. It starts to look kind of, like an interesting thing, I think.
Yeah,
Which,
so
yeah,
from that grid, all we did was add this randomizer and just flipped a coin and drew a circle or a square. And honestly, back to your analogy, right? Um,
hmm
at the beginning, is like as you go through, you're painting a grid. You drew a grid out, and you're painting it, and you first roll the dice to determine the color, and then you flip a coin to determine the shape, and then you move on,
yeah,
right? Like it's pretty much
yeah,
what we're doing, right? All right, let's
yeah.
roll some dice. Let's flip a coin. Oh, it's another square,
hmm
but this one's greener or whatever. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
that's it's exactly what we're doing, but just in code, it's quite cool because it runs much faster, or it happens much faster than you or I could paint it.
Right.
Which is why like computers are pretty good for generative art, because what we could do now is we could make our resolution huge, like say 128, and then we'll get a really detailed grid that if we were to paint by hand would take forever to do. I'm
Whoa.
not sure how long this is going to take to render.
Mine came through.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah, it's come through all right.
that's
So
cool.
yeah, you get a really detailed one. We can bring that back down to being random now. That's cool, but that's why computers are great, because you can just quickly,
All right, hot
turn it
take.
up to 11.
Computers are good. George
And
Francis
computers
said it here
sometimes,
first. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the
sometimes.
audience is going to be on your side for this one. Lots of people on the fence about computers.
Every now and then they're all right. A little taste of computer is okay sometimes.
It's a
You know what
sometimes
we can
food,
do?
is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not a grocery item, like regular purchase. Um, I want to rotate stuff. Let's do, because what you can do with SVG JS is literally just say rotate and just go somewhere between 0 and 360, because that's how much something can rotate. And then you have this, which is kind of looking pretty cool.
That's
You
pretty
get
neat.
all of your, yeah, the only thing is when you rotate a square, it can bust out of the
Yeah,
it's bound, so you'd have to like probably make them a little bit smaller if you wanted to start rotating them. Like maybe half, I think half the size would work. Yeah, there you go. And then you got different sized squares in there with different amounts of rotation. And I mean, we could also say with our circles, we could scale them by a random amount. So somewhere between 0.25 of its original size and 0.75 of its original size. And then, yeah, you start getting these kind of nice little patterns coming through,
yeah. So this is just
which
like
is, yeah.
like because of SVG JS, we have a really easy API to affect this stuff. But even if we were using something like React, um, fill like the way we did it on a component carousel is we set all those variables and then we just rendered that thing out with fill equals HSL, right? Like
Uh-huh.
on the actual
Yeah.
SVG. But
hmm
with SVG.js, we have this easy API, and all we're doing is just going, hey, what else can SVGs do? Oh, right, they can get a border. Let's randomize if they have a border or not. Like if they're hollow or they're solid, right? Like just kind of thinking of
Yeah,
things that like what else can we do with SVG? Let's do that.
yeah,
Let's give that a shot, right? Like, and so you get
for
something
sure.
really cool just iterating and kind of playing with it. This is so neat.
Yeah, it's awesome. This is only 33 lines of code or whatever, and it's it's fairly chill to look at. It's not getting too crazy with the maths or anything just yet. It's all quite
Just yet, warning.
apart from, I mean, we could maybe, but later, but
But
not
yeah,
at
no,
the
the math
moment.
is
This is
simple.
chill, and yeah, and you can do so much with it. You don't like, you really don't need to. But I personally, I'm not good at maths. Like, I honestly, like, I'm not good at it. I just sort of fudge my way through. It's sort of a bit of a misconception that you have to be good at it to do generative stuff. It's like you really don't need to know that much about it. Just a little bit will get you by, which is really nice.
You're
It's sort
standing
of
on the shoulders of
open.
giants, right? Like where you are, like
Everyone's already done
people
it.
have
Like,
figured out the Voronoi or whatever else, and you're just like, all right, I'm gonna grab that
yeah,
function, pop it in here, and here we go. And
yeah,
and
and
then
there
you
it
can
is.
tweak it, right? You can be like, oh, like, well, what happens if I change this plus to a minus? Ooh, right? Like there's a new
Yeah,
thing. So
yeah, just mess around with it. Like we're all using stuff. I think everyone that does generative art is like constantly doing things I mean, they have absolutely no idea how it works. I don't know if it's just me, but like I'm always using stuff. I'm like, I don't really know what this does, but like
I know
no
Liam in
no
the
one
chat does
cares.
generative art. I'm curious his take on what you just said there.
I'd imagine Liam knows how most of his stuff works. I often ask Liam if I'm stuck on things, but
His
I
stuff's
definitely don't know
brilliant
how
as
most
well.
things
You
work.
you
It
both make some
is.
fantastic stuff. I was gonna say to Cabal Gamer, yeah, this is SVG. We're using a library called SVG.js. So really, I could copy this, right, and
You
paste
could.
this into Figma, and then
Yeah,
this could be like an SVG that I put on all my business cards or whatever, right? Like
totally.
I have this SVG and I can hang on to it now if I choose,
Yeah.
or I could wire up some JavaScript so that like when I click on the page, it reruns and it reruns, and then eventually I go, I want that one. I've even seen
Mm.
them so that like you wire it up through 3JS and it actually like shoot, what was it? It can save the SVG for you, like it outputs that so that you
Ah,
click
cool.
it. Yeah, so yeah, it's a usable SVG. Cabal Gamer, yeah, it's super cool. Oh, an
Yeah.
SVG file to
Uh,
download. Yeah, so I kind of just answered what Andy was saying in that you can have it so that like SVG to file or something. I'll have to dig into that. Some other generative
mm,
artist, I saw that on one of his pens. But
that
yeah,
sounds cool.
this is really cool.
That's awesome. Mm. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I was going to do way more stuff, but now I'm kind of just obsessed with this little grid
This is really
of
fun, right?
squares
Like
and
this is such a
circles.
cool vibe to it.
Yeah, it's pretty vibey. This is the thing. Like, complex doesn't necessarily equal cool. This is the thing. Like, it can be really simple but still cool because
Yeah.
it's art and design, isn't it? It's not like it's just a creative thing. It can just be fun. We can add even more variants here because at the moment everything has like a solid fill. But what might be quite nice is if we cut out certain shapes. So they have like a border type of thing, and
Okay.
we could do that. We could do that with stroke. So we could say if I flip the coin and it's heads, then I draw like a rect element with a stroke. If it's tails, then I draw one with a fill. But what I quite like doing sometimes is actually, yeah, we can do it that way. Yeah, that would be fine. So within here we can say if my random choice is greater than 0.5. We do the circle like we did it just now, and that's great. Otherwise, we don't give it a fill, we give it a stroke, like this, and then
Wow, you
we
are
can
fast at that.
do color is going to be color, and then the width is going to say like I don't know 2, and then we can see if that
Well,
works.
that's cool. I
Yeah,
think we just need to drop the
that's
fill,
yeah, and then that's very good. Cool.
unless
We
you
can
were,
say
yeah,
fill.
unless you were none.
No, I
Cool.
like it. It's brutal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's
that's cool.
neat. Yeah,
There
so
we
we're
go.
getting some solids, some hollow. That's really neat.
Yeah.
Super quick. Oh, Ed, hey, thank you. I saw you earlier. Thank you for being here. And B1 Mind, thank you for being here. And Tom asks, maybe add some interactivity. Click to toggle between circle or rectangles, or even like, like it re randomizes on hover. Like interactive stuff could
We
be
can do
fun.
that.
We could get into that
Yeah, we'll
at
do
some
that.
point.
Yeah, totally. We can do that in a second. That's cool. By the way, this code is filthy right now. It is
Oh yeah,
all
that's
over the
that's
place
the
because
that's
I
the
can't.
workshop nature here. We're just
I'm like subtly trying to work out how to format it in the background, and I don't know how to do it. So
yeah,
I'm just
no,
gonna leave
I'm
it.
I made it clear to George chat, like I just want it to be like, you know, two friends just jamming on something like, hey, could you show me how to do some generative code at some point? And all we're doing is just turning on the stream. Like this is you know,
It,
two people in t-shirts just working on a thing, not in our dinner tuxedos trying to do the perfect code. So this is all
no,
just and I hope that you are getting a lot from this because I definitely am. I'm curious about
I hope so.
generative art. It's it's a lot of fun because exactly what George said about it. Um, I love art, but drawing and learning to paint and all that stuff is like, oh, I've always just been a computer person. So I've always liked Photoshop, I've always liked Illustrator and Figma, and then being able to do something cool with code. Uh, yes, please, right? Like, I just want to do that. So
Mm,
I'm learning so much. I think the big thing for me, my takeaway so far,
mm.
is it's so much easier than it looks, right? Like we're like, oh man, how
Yeah,
the heck is he putting all those like squares and triangles everywhere? How the heck is that going on? When at its core, you're just you're plopping SVGs down and then saying, what if the color was a little bit different each time you did it, right? Like let's pick a
totally.
random value for that.
Yeah, that's it. And from, I mean, you can go so many more places with
Yeah.
this. With this, you could start having noise. Like each cell could have a similar color to its neighbors, for example, or it could have a similar angle of rotation to its neighbors, like kind of self-similar stuff. Or you can, I mean, yeah, there's tons of places you can go, but I kind of want to see how far we can take it without getting anything else like that involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be quite cool. So we can do the same thing again with our. I've got an idea for the colors as well. We can do the same thing with our rectangle, where we say if the coin toss is a heads, we do
Okay.
like this. Otherwise, we just do in exactly the same way as we did with the circle, where we do stroke.
So we're
Um,
kind of doing two coin tosses, right? So the first
yeah,
one is if heads it's a circle. Now let's figure out if it's solid or hollow, right?
yeah,
Cool.
and then we say bill none or transparent. I don't know. I don't remember which one I should use. Boop, missing that. And now we have two different. There we
Really
go.
cool.
So that's
Honestly,
quite a lot of variance.
this could absolutely be like the pattern on a diaper bag or something, right? Like those colors,
Yeah,
those like shapes and everything. Like I don't know. I see
yeah.
like the pattern on some kind of kids thing. It's just it,
That's a vibe.
right? Diaper
Yeah.
bag vibe. I got my
So,
diaper bag. Sorry for saying diaper bag, but just like I don't know, just
it that's it. You've nailed it.
I think
That
I
is
did.
exactly what it is.
I think I
Yeah.
did.
That's pretty cool. It's looking all right. I quite like it. I'm not sure.
Pampers,
I'm gonna try it
hire this
without
man.
that. Yeah, hit me up. Every diaper could be unique, just like your child.
Just like your kids' poops.
That's
Yeah.
this. That's
Oh,
the slogan.
or your
Yeah.
kids. Yeah, no, that makes more sense. Or unique like your kids. We could have stopped there. Sorry, that's why I'm not in branding. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're doing some branding now, I guess. Um, no, that's cool. That looks good. I think the strokes could be a little bit. I mean, this is what it's all about. It's all about just kind of tweaking things
Yeah.
endlessly until it
Oh
looks
wait,
good.
are you changing the stroke width? No. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I
I
am.
thought
Yeah,
you
I'm
were I
changing the
thought
stroke
you were
width.
randomizing it. Is what I thought.
Oh, well, yeah,
Could do
let's
that.
do it. So
See,
go
that's
somewhere between two
that's
and
where
four.
it's like, hey,
Fun.
let's randomize the stroke width, right? Like what if we randomize
Yeah.
this?
So now some of them are random, and then you should be random as well. But that's a little bit much. Maybe we'll just do like 1 and 3,
Yeah, I'm
because
not buying
sometimes
this
it's
diaper
that's
bag.
a
That's
little bit
chaotic.
intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not gonna dig it. Well, and also, if this is gonna be going on diaper bags, um,
I love how this is stuck.
it 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 might be that the hard edges of the rectangles are too sharp. You might want to like soften them up a little bit and give them like a rounded border radius, which we should be able to do really easily. as long as I can Google the docs really quickly in the background, because I've
Well, let's
totally
bring them
forgotten
up so
how to
people
do
can
it.
see them. So SVG.js.
Yeah, grab them. That'd be really cool.
All
Okay,
right.
cool. I've got it. So it's what you think it would be. It's radius.
I was gonna say border
Uh,
radius. What page is this? Container elements, other elements, referencing, creating elements. Probably that. Where am I going, George?
oh, where?
RXRY.
What?
Thank you, Tom.
If you search for radius and with the thingy,
That
the
makes
docs are
sense.
really really good.
Cool.
That's it. Yeah, that's a great doc site. Like, as the
Cognizant.
I'm
Thank
not
you,
sure
Tom.
who made this, but thank you so much to whoever made this library. It's really fantastic. Very
We should
cool.
find out.
We should find out. Yeah, we should shout them out. It's really good.
Yeah, I don't know. Special
I don't know.
thanks. I don't know.
Oh, well,
Whoever you
afterwards.
are, mystery person, Dr.
Yeah,
SVGJS, we appreciate you.
yeah, big time.
Cool. Radius.
Cool. So I've given all of the rectangles a little bit of like roundness now, which I think is quite nice.
Nice. That feels more
Um,
like a George Francis thing.
it feels a bit more, yeah. Whew, it was a bit sharp. I was
Yeah.
getting a bit anxious about how sharp those edges are. It's feeling much more chill now. Yeah, it's definitely looking like something. I would say the colors we might want to change them now.
Okay.
I'm a bit bored of them basically at this point.
Got it.
And I want to change them to do something else. So we could, at the moment, we're just picking a random hue between like 0 and 200, but we could be like a lot more considered with our choice. So we can bust out the color theory, hopefully, and sort of generate a palette, and then we can choose from that palette that we sort of pre-generate. So to do that,
Cool.
we want to start, and we'll do some
Super
other cool stuff
super
with it.
quick question before we get into the color palette things.
Mm.
Tom just pointed out that Radius does both RX and RY, so that's pretty cool. And then Aaron
Oh, cool.
asks, is there a nice way to smooth out the corners on the inside of the squares? I think he's saying that like they're a bit more
Yeah,
jabby than the outside.
I would do it by doing another square inside it with the same radius, and then doing it that way
You have
rather
like a
than using
fill.
stroke.
Got it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
and then
Tom just
have
said the
like
same thing.
yeah, that's how I would do it, but I can't.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think there's
I
a
would
built-in
usually do
way.
that, but I don't think there's a way. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about suggesting before, where you draw like another one like a little bit smaller. Well, we could do that, but I think I might just leave it for now. I think it looks
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
okay anyway.
Yeah. I didn't want to derail too much, but at the same time, this show is much more about derailing than
Yeah,
the previous.
I
And
kind
honestly,
of
I'm really enjoying how we're just kind of like walking into the woods and being like, what's over that way? Like
yeah.
that's the joy of this for me, where I love what you brought on component carousel and all that you planned out. And like, for instance, Andy in the chat like brought on something like Tom, right? Like so many people in the chat that brought on a really cool like polished thing. But also I want to have you all back on to wander through the woods with me is a weird way of putting it, but just to kind of come into the woods with me. It's but yeah, just to come on and build something with me and kind of like just mess around, low stakes, just for funsies. Because this I'm learning a lot, honestly. So are we going to continue with the grid, or I saw on the thing try approach 1, try approach 2, try approach 3. So is this still approach 1 or
This is very much just still approach one
cool?
in
Just
terms of
curious.
like this. Yeah, this is how you to create like a grid. I could show you if you want to move away from the simple grid. We could kind of go on to do something that I've got that's like new that might be interesting for folks that are like familiar with generative art. I'm not sure what the chat wants to get into, whether you want to keep it in this world or whether you want to go into like the slightly more
I
weird
would love to
generative
touch
world.
on. Sorry to cut you off. I would love to touch on the next thing, and then like if
Yeah.
we dip our toes into 2 and 3 and we go, it's too hot, or we can come back to 1, right? So that
Yeah, that
I think
sounds
is
cool.
it would be cool to at least see like, oh, like either this isn't so bad and I'm able to handle this, or if I'm
Mm,
just like, I have a migraine, George, take me back to the nice diaper bag
yeah.
pattern.
No,
Um,
that's cool.
we can do that. But
Yeah, yeah,
but if you
for
if you
sure.
want to do the palette that we talked about first, we can do that
Yeah,
and then jump up to
yeah,
you.
no, that's a good idea because we can use our same palette on,
Cool.
but use a different way of generating the grid. So we can define a palette now. So we
Awesome.
just want to choose a hue somewhere between any hue. We can do any hue, I guess.
Where
And then we can do. So
where
you've got
are
your
we?
base one.
Up here. Cool.
Oh, we're just here. So that's like your base one. And then if we wanted to do the triadic, or maybe we do tetradic with the night everything's 90 degrees apart. So we could do complementary. One is hue plus 90. This is probably the matter that this, I think this is how you do it. And then the second one is going to be the first one 90 degrees away from the first one. And then the third one is going to be 90 degrees away from the second one. So then you have three different, or you have 4 different colors. You have a base hue, and then we have 3 more hues, each 90 degrees apart from each other. So that should think it's tetradic. I can't remember. The chat might know if that's
I'm
the
trying
correct
to
term for it.
bring something up. This is a weird site. This was not the site. I'm trying to find for sure. Here we go. Tetradic color pattern. Seems like tetrad might. Yeah, no, that does look like it, and we're just picking 3. So like, if we
So
start here, 90 degrees would be on
yeah,
that side, then 90 degrees. But we're not doing this 4th one, right? Or
we
are
are
we?
doing it because the first one is
Oh,
your base hue, so red, and then the second.
oh
So
yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
base hue is that, and then the 3 complementaries are the 3 other ones,
I
basically.
missed that bit. Yeah, so this that's exactly what it is. You nailed it. So we pick a random
Yeah,
spot and then we're essentially moving that square, like we're rotating it as we find a new spot for it.
yeah, that's it. That's what
Cool.
we're doing. So we've got our hues now. Now we can say how saturated we want all our colors to be. We'll probably stick with like the same one for now. We can say somewhere between like 50 and 80, just get quite a lot of variance going on. And we can
Okay.
have lightness be somewhere between, I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is going to apply to all of the colors. So they'll all live in the same kind of world. So we could say somewhere between 50 and I don't know, man, like 97. 97 is a good number, so we'll do
And
that
that's
one.
going up to 100. Correct.
Yeah, it would go up to 100. Yeah, totally. And then our colors, we can have an array, and we can pop our colors in. So the first, they're all going to be HSL,
Mm.
which would be, and the first one would be the hue, and then we would have saturation, percent, and then we'll have lightness percent, and that's one of our colors. And then we can have this one.
Weird that the syntax highlighting isn't picking up the variables in there, right?
Looks all right to me.
I mean, yeah, I might just be used to a different kind of syntax highlighting. I would expect lightness to have a different color, but maybe that's
Oh,
standard.
there might be a syntax error that I've made. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I think I'm getting
Uh,
one at the
cool.
missing
I know
initializer.
what.
There we go.
There you
That's what
go.
it is.
Yeah, it hasn't fixed the
It didn't fix the syntax highlighting.
syntax, but yeah,
I just knew. I
right.
felt an error like in the
Yeah,
aura of that array, so that's really what it was.
yeah. So we got our colors now, which is they're all sorted in an array. So rather than doing all of this stuff, what we can do is we can say color is random, and we just pass in
Oh,
colors,
right, because
and it will pick.
your function
Fingers
can either
crossed.
take two
Okay.
two numbers and it picks between there, or it takes an array, and that's really cool. So yeah,
Exactly.
we're using color theory to
Yeah.
choose that color palette, but it's still completely random. Like
Yeah.
you're not pulling this from somewhere. It's just
Nope.
color theory.
Yeah, for sure. And then we can even what would be cool now is if we could quickly refresh it. So we should wrap all of this stuff into a function. I think it was Tom that suggested earlier it would be cool if it could like regenerate on click.
Yeah.
So maybe we could do that. So we can have like a little generate function. I'm just down the bottom now. So we have our generate function, and then we move all of this code all into there, and then that's all
Nice.
moving in there, which is good. And
Yeah,
then
I think, and this is like a small thing, I think Tom was saying that you regenerate one of them on click. So if I click on that circle, it flips to a square, which is
oh,
higher complexity for sure, and would
I haven't got the
create.
brain power for that.
Tom,
I
it's
can't do
your
that.
job
Not on
now.
stream.
That is
Yeah, no,
now
I will
your job.
definitely get that wrong. I can't do that. Not right now. I will definitely get it horribly wrong and get very confused if I try and do that. So I'm just going to stick with this one for now. So every time you click, you regenerate the grid of stuff. And then if, oh, hang on, I also need to click that to happen straight away.
Funny, it's
So if
getting.
you,
Are we
yeah, it's
randomizing
really light.
opacity, or is it just very
Yeah,
light?
it's the lightness. The lightness is too high, so we can
Okay.
just change that to 80.
It just felt like the
Hopefully
opacity
that
was
will.
dipping. This is so
There we go.
cool.
So we can
Ooh, I
we
like
can make
that
that
one.
even more random. I can't see the same ones that you're seeing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can if you
That's
look
a
at
little
the
bit
other
low.
screen, but don't sweat
I
it.
can. Yeah.
I'm talking to the chat.
That's
You're
no.
just also here, George.
I'm just
Chat, look at
yeah.
that.
I'm just changing random numbers. Which yeah. I mean, this is looking pretty good to me.
It's so cool.
So one of the things about tetradic palettes is, I know this is really rough, like and you could definitely refine it a lot, but one of the things about tetradic palettes is they look best when you pick one number, or you pick one color, and that's the prominent one, and then the other colors you just kind of like put them on top like a little seasoning,
So like
sort of like.
percentages of like 50%, and then like not 25, 35,
Yeah,
right? But like whatever that would be. 20, 20,
I
20? No.
think I can.
15, 15.
You kind of like a weight, so like one of them would be like a higher chance of happening than the other ones.
Got it.
I think I can do that. I've got a function called random bias in my generative utilities function, which will generate a number in a range, but you can give it a bias, so
Okay.
it'll be more likely to be that number. I'll see if this works. I don't know.
Where are you? Here
So
we
we can
go.
see.
Okay, so
Oh,
const
I'm down
choice.
here.
Yeah.
It's random bias. So it'd be somewhere between 0 and colors dot length, and you want that to be a whole number. So somewhere between 0 and colors.
I don't know if I know this little double swirly thing. At least I haven't used it
Oh, it
in.
just makes it an integer.
Really?
It's like doing math.floor.
Am I the only one that just learned
Yeah,
that? I probably am, but that's cool. All right.
it's quite nice. Yeah, I think it's the same as math.floor. It's like a bit thingy way of doing it. My mate Will, who I work with, showed me it ages ago, and I've used it loads since. It's really cool.
Wow. Yeah, I have never seen that before. It's doesn't
Little
Josh Como
shorthand.
have like a what is it? A search for
Oh,
specific
yeah. Operator lookup, I think
operator
it's called.
lookup.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know what it's called. You can keep trucking. I just want to
There it is. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. So
you're
choose
fine.
a random number somewhere between there. Oh, and we want. Ah, so this is where it gets really weird. We want to focus. So we want our
Josh doesn't know
focus to
about this one.
be.
This one isn't in Josh's thing.
Uh...
What did you just invent, George? What? This is wild. Okay, after the stream, I'm gonna like do a bunch of console logging and stuff. I'm not gonna derail the stream entirely to figure this out. Oh, thank you, Amit. Okay, so it removes everything after the decimal point. Okay, because the bitwise operators implicitly convert their operands to signed 32-bit integers. This works whether the operands are floating point numbers or strings, and the result is a number. Yeah, yo. In other words, it
Cool.
yields if x is less than 0, return math.ceiling of x, else return math.floor. It's a shortcut to math.floor. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, you nailed it, George. I was in disbelief just because I've never seen it, and then other people hadn't seen it either. Thank you. Yeah, we're just learning
Yeah,
a
no
ton. Keep
worries.
going, man.
Oh, good. So yeah, what we've done now is we've said that like the color, like the main color that we. Oh no, this is wrong because I'm changing the color every time. We want our focus to be defined here.
Yeah,
So we're
that makes
choosing
sense.
one color, one index in the array that we want most of our colors to be. And then in this case, it looks like it's red, and you should get like a more of a weight towards that one and slightly less of like the other colors, which
Yeah,
is kind of a.
I can
It just makes
kind
it
of
a little
tell.
bit. It's hard to tell when you
Can we
don't
make it super
have.
strong or anything?
Just trying to. You can't. Oh, I might be missing. I might actually be missing a value. I might need one. That's the strength, I think. Let's see how that works. Yeah, that's starting to look a little bit better now.
This looks like purple. Yeah, there's only like 4 or 5 of these reds. So there's definitely something happening where purple is much more dominant in
Yeah,
mine,
that's it.
right?
If we
This is
made loads more cells, it might be a bit more obvious. So if
oh,
we did like
I feel like it almost
56.
is more obvious. Yeah, I'm trying to decide if it's more obvious with. Oh wow, that is a lot more. Yeah, I think that's yellow, but there's
Yeah,
also a lot of purple. There's very few green in this one, so I don't know. This
yeah.
feels like like a test of some sort, like a color
What
blindness
do you
or
see?
yeah. This is
Yeah,
really
it's like
cool.
a what do you see in the grid? So yeah, I mean that's pretty cool. And if you click now on the
Ooh,
page, if you just click a bunch of times, you should see it change every
yeah,
time you click.
yeah.
There you go.
Oh
And then
yeah,
yeah, you
now it's
get a
definitely
different
green
one.
as a dominant. The dominant trick
Yeah,
is really nice, George. I really like that.
yeah, it's quite nice.
Whoa, Jason Langsdorff just rated with a party of 25. Thank you for coming through, Jason
Nice.
and friends. We are doing some really cool stuff. George Francis is here, and George makes some wonderful generative art. And basically, he's walking us through. We have so far made this cool generative grid where whenever I click, I get to have a new version. We walked through it from the very beginning. Thank you for the follow. Frackberg, thank you for coming through. Good to see you. Tell them about that. Yeah. And we also just learned about this. Jason, or if I'm not sure if you're still here, but do y'all know about this? About the double tilde? And I don't know if tilde is the proper word, but do you know about this?
Is.
Because, yeah, like so this is basically a shortcut to math.floor, but Alan just kind of posted that it's kind of sort of not, but it's almost there. But basically
Yeah.
this shortcuts if you need an integer from a decimal. Thank you for all the follows. Oh my goodness. Prince is here. Prince, wow, good to see you.
Hey.
Wow, thank you for those follows. Yeah, and George is here. I've got George on. You might know George from his fantastic articles or from this logo. Makes delightful blobby things, tessellation patterns. Thank you for the follow, Adrian. Yeah, just makes such cool stuff. George is one of my favorite generative artists, people just in general. And so yeah, we've created this so far, and we're still just going. We're still just going. Because
Yeah.
we are gonna move on in a little bit to like a slightly more advanced form of generative art. But y'all, like, I wanna kind of explain like the simplicity that is underpinning what seems to be like oh crap, how would I make this, right? We started from just making a grid, just drawing a grid, going like 20 by 20 and making a grid, and then we tweaked the opacity of each rectangle as we drew it, and it looked kind of like a QR code. And then we just kind of like added little bits of complexity. So like every time you draw a rectangle, instead you flip a coin and it's either a circle or a square, right? So you can see that how every spot is either going to be a circle or a square. And then you flip a coin again, and that square either has an outline or it's solid. And so we're just continually like adding little bits of randomness in here. We just went through a whole like color theory thing where we did we did a tetradic color system, and George taught us about that. Like, we've just been building up little bit by little bit, and we don't know where we're going, but we're having fun along the way. And so far, this has been pretty cool. I want to catch up on chat. I want the aesthetic all over my site. Yes, Prince. George's aesthetic is one of my absolute favorites. All of his stuff is just so fun. And Cabal says those organic shape designs are awesome. George, you ought to sell prints of that reaction diffusion stuff you showed earlier. Yeah. Are you doing that, George? I know you got like a demo.
You should say that.
Yeah, go ahead, pitch
it. No. I am doing. Yeah, I'm doing sort of. I think 10 or maybe 20. I'm not sure yet, but I will be posting about selling them at some point.
Can someone drop that link in chat again to the to George's tweet? I don't want to go digging through Twitter on stream, but if someone can, I know Liam dropped that link in earlier. I just don't have it up anymore. Thank you, Liam.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is like what you can get to if you advance through, grids 101 and go on to like higher and higher things. But basically taking generative patterns that George has, mastered over the years. This is a print that George just got in the mail. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, just the first thing I printed in a while. It's nice to see it like in real life after like 6 months on a computer or something. And then
yeah, it's real.
It's real. It becomes a real thing. I'm going to do a really big one for my office, which is going to be quite cool. The office where I work, which quite excited about that. Yeah,
it's so neat. But like you can see how it like, I mean, the chat can see. I know you can see, George, but like chat, you can see how like you build up through these generative patterns that we're going to get into some of them. I actually don't know what's coming next. Oh, nice. I love that. And Cabal asks if this one was done using SVG.js.
Yes, it was all done with SVG.js, the whole thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Exactly the same setup as what we're using here. It's the same. I render it to a canvas before I export it because it has to be huge. Saving it out of Chrome, it can't do it. So I have to do some weird stuff before it gets saved out. But like the core of it is all SVG. So yeah, it's exactly the same as what I'm doing.
Awesome. So do you want to hop to approach 2? Oh, and I will I think I've got no, I don't have this in the so we can hop to approach 2. I would love to keep this as is if possible. Is there a good way to not nuke our grid but instead hop to fresh one?
I can do I'm just trying to think.
Trying to think of a good way to do that.
What I might do is just comment this out for now, and then we can do that in a minute. I think we can split it out. Does that sound all right?
Screenshot. Yeah. Absolutely. Let me fork this so that we have this.
Oh yeah.
I'll fork
you
it
fork
real
it. That's a good idea. Yeah.
All right. I forked it. I've saved us, everyone. Don't worry. I'm on the job. I'm here. I can do it.
All right. Let's do something different. I mean, we were just talking about those prints, and a lot of what makes those prints look how they do is something called a Voronoi diagram, which is, you might have seen them before. It's like lots of convex polygons in a space, and they look a bit like tortoise shells or like cracks in the mud or something.
Bring it up.
And I've seen
and you have
they come up a lot in nature.
Voronoi, but that's a bit like complex.
Well, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that right now. It's gonna be fine.
So it's like
it's gonna be good.
And then as you said, like it's like a tortoise shell kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're really cool. They look really natural, and they can be used for like all kinds of things.
Like even drying dirt, giraffes.
That's it.
Yeah, lots of cool.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Implementations of it. Way to go, nature! You did it.
Yeah, they're a little bit heavy, and I'm not going to get into that now, partly because I wouldn't do a nice job of it, and also because it'd be quite boring for
Okay, so
most
lots of
people, I
math,
think.
but we have a nice way into
We,
it,
I've
right?
got I've got a function like because I use Voronoi diagrams for like doing anytime I want shapes that don't overlap but are random. It's a really good way of doing it rather than brute forcing. So if you wanted to like circle pack, or if you wanted to pack circles and squares and lines and whatever, you can use it in such a way that it's super quick and really, really efficient.
Interesting.
So this might I've got an article in the works about this, but so it's kind of
You
like
always do.
a little test for it. But this might be quite cool for some folks who are a little bit into generative stuff already, and also kind of interesting for folks that aren't. So what we can say is we want to generate some cells. So when you were looking at those images, you could see all of the little sections of the diagram,
Bring
like the
it back. I hope I didn't
tortoises.
close it. Did I close it? I might have. Let me reopen close tab. That's always, yeah. I'm gonna try to get reopen close tab. There we go. That's always risky, isn't it?
Risky business.
Yeah. Here we go. Here we go. Cool.
That's it. Yeah. So all of these individual little cells, we want some of those. So we can say current cells. I'm just going to destructure it because it's part of another object. Is create. Oh, I don't want to create a noise grid. I want to create a diagram. Awesome. So
Okay, so this is a
into
function that's
that,
coming from your util thing, from
it's
your own library.
it's in there.
Cool.
Yeah. So we want to say the width, and we want the height to be the height of our SVG. And then we want to drop in lots of points, so that how a Voronoi diagram works roughly is that you have lots of, I'm sorry, like Liam's going to be like, oh man, but man, I'm not going to do a good job of it. But it's like if you imagine if you drop like loads of points on like on a canvas, and then for each point you draw like a polygon around it where the edges or the points of that polygon are closer to that point than they are to any other points. And it's kind of weird, but we'll do it real quick now.
I think I
So
kind of get what you
first
mean.
thing,
Like
I'll do a
yeah,
visualization so we can see it.
cool.
So we want to create some points, which is going to be an array, a randomly sized, like an array of like 200 things. 200 points would be good. And we want, that's a typo, and we want each point to be like it's just an x and a y value. So if you imagine like plotting a point on a piece of graph paper, that's kind of how you can imagine this. So the
Sorry, I
x value of
did
the point.
space out, but I'm going to catch up, and I'm going to catch the chat up in
Cool.
just a second. I was clicking links. It's my fault, chat. I apologize. Okay, so we've got an array of points, and we're making 200 for this
Yep.
array, and then we're mapping that array to create. Okay, so we're dropping 200 random points on our grid and putting those points into an array, and then we visualize them. Wow. Okay. So
yeah, and that's
chat.
I'll make them like nice tomato color.
Love it.
And so we can see them.
Okay, so this is just a nice, concise way of creating an array of 200 XY values, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we've got our points. Yeah, that's all they are, and we can see them. And then what we can do is we can create a Voronoi diagram around those points. So if we just pass in the points,
Oh,
and then ignore this for a second,
okay.
because it's weird. And then what we can do is we have our cells. So for each cell, we go through and we can do a polygon of the cell's points.
If you're lost, chat, we'll break it down in a sec. Don't worry. Wow.
Okay, so we're starting to see something happen here, and let's make
Yeah.
it a little bit smaller, so you should be able to see it.
Wow. Ghost
There
Compute,
we
thank you
go.
for the follow.
Let's move the points out so you can sort of see how they exist in relation to
Oh, so they're gonna be on top.
areas.
Oh,
There we go.
cool.
Yeah. So you've created this diagram now, and you have these cells which you can kind of do something, whatever you like with.
Wow.
Which is super cool. And one of the things that I really like to do with Voronoi diagrams is they look really nice like this, but you can do something called relax it, where you move each. I might get this horribly wrong as well. For each cell in it, you calculate something called the centroid of the polygon, which is right in the middle of each of the polygons. It's not
Okay.
where these points are. So what I can actually do is I can draw where
Well,
the
is it cool if I digest what we just did first a little bit and just
oh
make
yeah,
sure
yeah.
like I kind of understand it? So, chat, as we said, we're not gonna like dig into the exact formula of the Voronoi thing, just because under the hood, Voronoi is, and correct me if I'm wrong, either George or Liam in the chat, or anyone in the chat. Um, Voronoi is something that someone figured out a while ago, and we're just kind of like
Yeah.
borrowing the formula, kind of like how you would just like grab the Pythagorean theorem. You wouldn't invent your own or whatever, right? We're just kind of grabbing that formula, and we've got it tucked inside that function there, the create Voronoi diagram. It looks to me, so if we could just look at the red dots only right now, chat, it looks to me
Let me get rid
as,
of those blue ones.
it's totally fine. As George kind of said, like the dot looks to see like how far it can like make its land mass until it hits into another thing. It's almost like a game of Civ, if you've ever played Civilization, where it's like they try to expand as much as possible until they run into another dot's land boundary, and then they can't do it anymore. So they expand in that direction and make polygons. That's and Alan, I love that pun, standing on the Voronoi of giants. But yeah, so that's just how Voronoi is made, it seems, where you drop a bunch of points and then you see how far they can go until they hit into another point's land. I'm sure it's clearly more complicated than that, but that's a good
You
mental model,
can
I
just
feel
don't worry.
like.
Yeah, don't worry. Like it's
Yeah,
there.
it's there.
Someone's worked out already. Like it's cool. We
Yeah.
can like I always say, just use stuff. Don't worry if you don't. Like you're not like writing like a research paper. Like you're making art.
If you are writing a
And no
research
one's
paper in the
gonna pull
chat,
you
we
up on it.
apologize. Um,
Yeah. No, you might be. I mean, you might be. In which case, you
that's
you definitely would want to understand it. But if
completely
you're
good.
just doing like a code pen or whatever, it's chill. Like
Yeah, no, but
you
this
don't
is
need to go
already
that
really
too
cool.
deep into it.
So you were doing a thing here with finding the kind of like the dead center of the polygons
Yeah.
that were drawn.
Yep. So what you can do with Voronoi diagrams is do something called Lloyd's relaxation, where you move the control point of each polygon towards the centroid, which is the blue
The
one,
blue. Okay.
and you kind of do it for every single cell until they all become more linear in size, which is quite handy. So I can show you now. If I change the relax iterations to like 8, you should see these cells become a lot more uniform. See,
Oh,
like this,
interesting. And they've
which
busted
is
out of
really
their
cool.
red dots. Like they've moved away from the original
Yeah.
spots, because like these two red dots shouldn't be in the
So
same box.
I'm gonna get rid of the red dots now because we're only really worried about like the centroid now. So yeah, there they are.
Whoa.
So it looks pretty cool. And what you can do as well is right now we are generating our points so that they're anywhere on the screen, but you can get these really nice natural looking patterns if you actually generate it. So for our X value, it's somewhere around the center of the canvas. So
Whoa.
like that,
Okay,
and then
hold
that
on.
would be
Where are
like,
you? Okay, sorry. I'm missing where you're doing this. I'm seeing it now. Um, and Alan, that's funny. I did not see the sideways owl. Alan's like taking a Rorschach test and seeing animals in it. Okay,
I've got
so
done something wrong. I don't know what it is though. What have I done wrong, chat?
that's fine.
Oh, I've got a missing argument
Missing
after.
parenthesis.
Where is it though?
Not sure.
I don't know. Hang on. Let me just reset that. Okay, so that's all looking fine.
Oh, we need a division thing here, right?
Oh, that's it. Yeah, my
There
bad.
we go. All
Cool.
good.
Oh, cool. There you go. So now you can see most of them are like concentrated towards the middle because that's
Yeah.
where we've put the majority. The majority of the points are there. So if I make it a little bit rawer, so we're not relaxing it very much, it might
Got
look pretty
it.
weird. But you can see
Yeah.
that
But if that's the look
that's
you're
where
going
like
for, that's got like I don't
it's
know, like an
yeah,
alien kind of creepy feel to it. So like yeah, like that's got
it's
a
yeah, it's definitely summon. It's pretty cool, but I quite like it when you relax it a little bit. And we can also we can use the same logic and do so that they're all centered to around the middle, and then it should look kind of like a little explosion, like coming out from the center, which is
Yeah.
really cool.
Real quick, I want to understand this. I know it's a simple formula. I'm trying to. I haven't got a chance to understand it. So,
Mhm.
your random function picks a number between your two arguments. The
Yeah,
width, which is 200 divided by 2, so 100 minus 50. So, okay, so it's gonna pick something between 50 and 150. In other words, so it's gonna be between here and between about here. So it's more
it'll
likely to
pick
be
something. It'll be something between yeah. Sorry, 50 and 150. Yeah, because it's 100, so half the width minus 50 or
cool.
plus. Yeah, so it'll pick somewhere between those two, and you could randomize that as well if you wanted to, like where the focus is.
Got it.
Which is quite nice. I mean, you can literally do whatever you want. But what I wanted to show was once you've got your Voronoi diagram, rather than just rendering the cells, what you can then, I mean, if you wanted, you could start messing with these cells and giving them like random fill colors and all of that stuff,
Right.
and that's really
Like a
cool.
stained glass kind of
Um,
feel, even, right?
yeah, we could. I mean, we could quickly do that
Oh,
now, where we would
I don't want
say,
to stuttering derail you. I know you got
I've
something
got,
cool cooking up
oh,
in
I've got
your
no
brain. El Evidente,
it's
good to
all
see
good.
you. And Rose of Gold, I agree that one did look lacy with like the things coming in from the sides.
So we
Okay,
can,
so you're doing the same sort of trick we did before, where we're picking a
yeah,
random, yeah,
just to
uh,
kind of show how it
random
could work.
hue, and then setting the saturation and lightness.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
wanted to see how stained glassy I could get it, just roughly. But then now you've kind of got that sort of like little stained glass effect,
yeah,
which is it's pretty cool. It's quite
yeah.
nice. There's a lot of places you could take that. But what I've got here, which is how you can use the Voronoi diagram. This is kind of what I was saying earlier, to create random patterns and textures that don't really look anything like a Voronoi diagram. You don't have to render the cells. You can just use the cells to place things that don't overlap with each other in like a really fast way. So we can say, what we can do is we can just draw a circle for now. The radius would be, there's a property on each of these cells that I've added, which is the maximum radius of a circle you can fit inside each cell. So it's called inner circle radius, and then the x
Okay.
position would be the cell dot centroid dot x, and the y position would be the cell centroid dot y. Let's just see if
Look at
that
these
works.
guys appearing at the top. It's just funny to see them like appearing halfway through. They're just like lining up.
I'm just going to reorder that because you can't
Yeah,
see the
we're gonna break
circles.
this code down in just a second.
There it is. Okay, so now you can see that now we've got circles that kind of fit within
Yeah, and they
each
get
of the cells,
smaller if the cell is smaller.
but then just get rid of the polygon because you don't need to see it. It'll still look cool, and then you start getting these kinds of patterns come up, which is kind of awesome.
That's wild.
And
Yeah,
if we made loads of points, it will almost look like stippling. So if I say I do like 1,000
like
points, this is you
drawing
can
through
do,
like pencil dots. You mean like that kind of
yeah, like
stippling?
this, and you
Yeah,
can you can simulate stippling using. There's a paper about doing stippling using Voronoi diagrams and rejection sampling, which works quite well. But yeah, if I just drop say 4,000 points in, we should see
and
something
that's
that
how the
looks quite
stream
cool.
crashes, George. You're being reckless.
Let's see what we
I just
can do
dropped ten
here.
thousand and boom.
It
That's
can do
really neat.
10,000.
I
You'd
love
be really surprised
how efficient.
how
Yeah,
much you
no,
can get away with.
I've learned from you just how efficient uh drawing dots with SVG is, because I think you were doing something like this like a few weeks ago when you dropped it in the Front End Horse Discord,
Yeah.
which everyone should
Mm.
hop into, by the way. And yeah, I was like, wait, that's all SVG, just drawing like basically a shit ton of dots, and you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
like wow, that's surprisingly efficient, because like I think about SVG elements kind of like divs. So I was like, wait, you can just drop like 20,000 divs, but it's different, right? Like I genuinely don't know
Yeah.
the performance differences between regular DOM
Oh,
elements like divs and SVG
I
rectangles. I don't know
I
if
could
someone in the
not
chat
tell you.
does. Yeah, and that's fine. But like that, it was just surprising to me that you can do this, and it's not like that's just a crap ton of circles. Um,
Yeah.
Alan says his
And then
brain can't look away. Yeah, Rosengold says it's trippy,
um,
awesome. 20,000, so beautiful. Wow, so cool. Missed how we got here. I just had to hop away, but that's insanely cool. Just super. Oh, that. Oh, so wait. What'd you just do? Are we flipping a coin?
I'm just messing with it really.
Man, you are
It's
spitting
just
this out. Okay. So we're back
some
to
of
flipping
them
the coin, and now it's either.
yeah.
Look at this, y'all. Y'all, okay. Corey, my man Corey comes through. Oh, and so did Aaron. SVG is safe. WebGL would set things on fire. SVG renders SVGs inline and image tags that source SVGs differently. Oh, wait, that browser and image tags that browsers render SVGs differently. I'm not sure where the browsers part comes in, but yo, this is really cool just to see you like honestly, it feels like I'm watching jazz like in art form right now, where you're just like, I don't know, let's try circles. Boop 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 boop.
Well, I thought we've been doing lots of points, but I thought what might be good if we do
1 point.
not very many, like
Oh,
or like
whoa.
8, and we did something like this, where you kind of get these cool like almost
Chat, did y'all
logos
just see
happening.
that? Hold on, George. In chat, did y'all just see? There was like 1,000 that just rendered at once. It was just trippy.
Yeah,
That was really funny.
uh,
Sorry.
I need
Uh,
to wrap that in a function, and then sorry, I'm just
yeah.
going off the I'm going doing all sorts of weird stuff right now. So we
All
have this
good.
generate function that we want to call like this
Okay.
when it first starts,
You're
and
losing me a
then
little.
yeah.
Would you mind if we I don't know if I
Mm,
just feel like we're sprinting. I don't know where land is at this point. But it's
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
I just want
yeah,
to be able to do this myself too. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we can. I'm just gonna set this up
Sounds
real
good.
quick, and then we can talk about what's
Yeah. Sorry
happening
about that,
there if you
Wilster.
like.
That was just uh,
There we go. And then it's
neat.
gonna go crazy, but I don't
Oh,
want it
okay.
to.
Yeah.
Just
That's
one
oh,
second. It's
all
gonna
good.
chill
Yeah.
out.
If you can give me a
There we
heads up
go.
so that we don't yeah induce flashing lights in
Yeah,
viewers.
there it
Um,
is. So that just, I think that looks quite cool. I quite like that. I'm just gonna let that run now, and we can talk about what that's doing if you like.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. That's super cool. Okay, so generate is here. Wait, where's generate? Generate
It's
function generate,
it's there. Yeah, yeah.
and we have a set interval so that um every 2 seconds we're going to clear it using SVG JS as a handy clear function. That's awesome. And that just guts it. That just guts out the contents.
That just removes everything from like the SVG element.
SVG, so it just becomes an empty
Hmm.
SVG. It goes back to basically where we created it with the width and the height, and
Yep.
then we run generate, and so generate's going to run through. Okay, oh, did you move the SVG clear? We got 2 SVG clears. That's fine.
Don't need it. Yeah, that's cool.
All good. Const point. Yeah, so we dropped down from 200 to just 8 now,
to,
right?
to 8. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now are we focusing it on the center? Is that what that's doing, or is that not
We're focusing it on the left,
on the
but we don't
left?
really need to. We're just,
Okay,
that's kind of just some leftover
just
code.
doing it
So
for
most of the
funsies.
points, yeah, most of the points will be like dropped over to the left of the canvas now, using to like generate this Voronoi diagram.
Got it. And then
Hmm.
so where is the? Is there anything else that's really going?
Not really. It's all the
Okay.
same as it was just now. We're just generating the cells just with a lot less points. And then we're going through each of the cells. And sometimes we're doing a circle where that cell is, and other times we're rendering like the cell itself. But we're
So
just not doing too many of them. Yeah.
got it. So if so, we're just flipping a coin here, and if it's heads, essentially, we're gonna draw a circle. If it's tails, we're drawing a polygon. and that's just coming from the Voronoi thing itself. That's the cell points, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's each of the points for each cell. And I just thought that was I quite like it when there's not very many of them. It's just
Yeah.
using it in a bit of a different way to kind of create something that's a bit closer to like a I don't know, like a logo or something like that, or an avatar, like a random avatar you could use it for or
Yeah, it's
something.
a really good point. Yeah, like the old Slack avatars or just things you see on like what's the like a gravatar? Do they have randomized things? Or
Yeah, I
Stack
think
Overflow
so.
does, don't they? Just Stack
Yeah,
Overflow?
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, this is absolutely something that you can just run and assign to users, and then they assign them a random color, and they get a new thing. Dungeoneer, thank you for
Yeah.
following. I'm gonna catch up with chat a little bit. Could you animate transitions between patterns from El Evidente? Um,
Yeah, you totally could. With something like GSAP, that would be like nice to do, I think.
yeah, it'd be interesting because you would have to either like would that circle have to change into the polygon?
Yeah, you'd have to like I
That'd be the
mean it
tricky part.
depends. Yeah, but you take a bit of creative license and
Yeah,
work around it
you
however you want
could.
it, really.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I didn't. Had nothing to add to it, really.
Got it. I mean, the easy way out would be like they fade out and fade in, or they drop out and they rise up in, right? Like
Yeah.
you totally get rid of them. But going from one to the other, you could use what's the SVG morph plugin? But yeah, I guess
Oh
you
yeah, you
could
could. Oh, I just saw Tom in the chat tween the points grid.
morph
That's
SVG
that.
them.
I mean
Yeah.
that would look. No, if you change the actual control points, if you tween the control points of the Voronoi rather than tweening the elements that are in it, that would look super cool.
Oh,
That was Tom. I think that was Tom in the chat, but that would look super cool.
that's interesting.
Yeah, that would be
That's a
quite
cool idea.
complicated, but pretty awesome. Yeah, if anyone manages to do that, that
I
would look
mean, you just
really
have to
fresh.
store the positions from the previous one, and then do a GSAP between those, right? Like they're just
Well, you could just
positions now.
set each, yeah, you could just set each point to just randomly, I guess, tween forever, moving around, and then the whole diagram would move based on where the points are, and then you could put things in each shape. It would be really cool.
All right, Tom, you just came up with George's next 3 blog posts, so
That'd be pretty awesome.
it's cool.
Am-
Alan asked, and like you could make it just one circle and make the circle red pretty easily, right? Like, yeah, you could sell the hell out of these for corporate logos. Yeah, right. Um, cool. Was thinking about playing around to make a trippy hero header background, kind of lava lamp effect. That's neat. Wish I had a better handle on the
cool.
rest of this amazing magic. Tom says. That's why we're all here, Tom. That's exactly why I wanted to have George on, because like I see the stuff that he's doing, and I'm like, I just want to sit down and be able to ask him like, what's going on here? What's this?
It's
So,
really nice to like go through and explain things because you realize that a lot of things you do is pretty much just from like muscle memory or whatever.
oh yeah,
And you never stop to think about, oh, actually, how does this work? Or like, why am I doing this? Or like, is there a better way that I can do it? And yeah, it's super cool to run through it with people like this. It's really nice.
that's awesome. And Lucy's
Um,
here. Good to see you,
oh,
Lucy. So I was
I
gonna say,
have an idea. Hey, Lucy, I have an idea what
yeah,
we could do for colors. Just to finish it off, maybe
yeah,
as an extra layer of generative. If people in the chat post a hex code in the chat, we can use the hex codes that they choose to make a color palette, maybe, because then
awesome.
that like the chat is like the extra layer of generativeness. So if like
Humans, the
if anyone
last frontier for
humans
generative artists.
yeah, I
Drop a
thought
hex
just I don't
code.
know, that might be fun. Just because I'd like to give this some colors. So if anyone
Yeah.
has any hex
Do
codes,
you want to set up a color array and I can drop those in as they come in?
yeah. I mean, you go for it, man. You can set it up.
Wilster comes out with a banger. All right, so am I just doing like const colors?
Yeah.
Cool. uh, FF6557. I don't know. I'm trying to decide if it's easier to copy and paste as the chat moves or not. I'm gonna take like a few more. I'm not gonna. Yeah, so get them in quick, chat. Let me see if I can. Actually, it might be easier if I wait. Let me see. Let's see if this does the trick. Can I do this? No, they don't let you do that.
No, I think this is going to be beautiful. I can just
Steve's
tell
here.
already it's going to look
Jedediah,
amazing.
got some great people in this chat. Steve, good to see
Nice.
you. Got to get Steve on to teach us some stuff. Lots of people in here that I hope you're enjoying the format, because I would love to have you on to duplicate it or whatever. I don't know. George, I hope you're enjoying the format and not crying internally.
I love it.
Okay, good.
I love this format. I want to do this all the time. I'm not going to make anything anymore unless I'm streaming it.
That's
what
fun. I love to hear. No, people, stop making stuff off my shows. It's so hard for me to keep up with.
You
have a cool idea. I have a cool idea for a thing. Stop. Talk to me. Let's do it. Come on. All right. All right. And Lucy, getting Lucy's. Cool. I'm gonna keep saying
I think we might need some more cells before we do this.
Okay.
Maybe.
Go for it. Well,
Steve,
we've got our colors in. And Wilster says that his is a very nice color, so I'm refreshed and
nice.
Jedediah had a cool one. Is that
okay?
Alan likes them. Get them all. Multi-line in CodePen is Control-Click, by the way. Ah, yeah, Wilster, I did an Alt-Click. That's why it's exactly what I had. So thank you for that. You forgot the number on the second color. Thank you. Oh, did you already catch that?
I added it.
Look at you. Don't use my hex. I thought you'd notice it wasn't valid. Where? Oh, that's funny. That's not. Wait, that's not valid, Steve. I'm guessing that's yours, Steve. No. What is? I don't get it. YPL4FW. I don't know. With that approach, is Twitch plays Pokemon generative art? God, that's a good question. Lucy asks, is Twitch plays Pokemon generative art, in the sense that like humans, like the randomness of humans typing up, down. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but basically they made a Twitch bot.
What that is.
Someone made a Twitch bot that allows the whole chat to type up, down, or like A or B, and essentially control a Game Boy game through the randomness of people typing. And so like in a sense, it's generative performance.
It's generative.
Right? Yeah. It's
I guess. Yeah.
Pretty wild. I'll hexes begin with IP. Oh yeah, Steve, you're totally fine. No worries. Cool. So are we gonna add these in?
Yeah, let's add them. Awesome. Do you wanna do it?
Oh boy. Okay. Yes. So I'm thinking. We don't need to do it in here. We can do it at the top of the cell. So are we gonna weight them, or just gonna pull a random one from the chat?
Pull a random one from the array, I would say. Steve
or Corey. Corey just gifted. I always do that. Corey, thank you so much for that gift. Really appreciate that gifted sub. Steve, you are now a mega horse, a stallion, I think. Thanks to Corey's gift. Thank you, Corey. I really appreciate that. Wait, so const color. Okay, so we just put it here, where instead of that, we're gonna grab random, and we're gonna use your function. And hoodlum, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. And then colors. That's all we need to do, because your thing can take an array, or it can take whatever else we throw at it. So color. Where is color getting added?
We need to use it.
Yeah, so SVG circle.fill, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Or here. Nice. Look at this, chat. Look at you
go.
At that. Chat, you did it. You made a pretty thing. That looks awesome.
That looks good.
Chat, how did you just pick a pretty dope color palette? That's really cool.
That looks really good. I think that on a dark background, I'll just add a quick brown,
Yeah, you're like,
would look really good.
that's
Uh,
slick.
that's super cool.
You
Oh,
add it.
I need to add it to generate because I put it in the wrong place. There we go. Hopefully that will work now. That's awesome. I can't believe how good that turned out. That's really, really cool. I love it.
Yeah. Chat,
Nice.
you're awesome.
There we go. Yeah,
This is
that's super
fantastic.
cool. Yeah.
So we didn't get to approach 3 or noise. I guess we'll have to have you back on at some point. Is what that
Oh
sounds
yeah.
like?
We can do a whole thing on noise. There's a lot you can do with noise, so that would be cool.
Yeah, this has been a blast, honestly. Just being able to kind of mess around with you and learn more about generative art. Where would you recommend people go to, like continue this, to continue to dig in? What's like a great resource?
Um, I learned entirely how to code watching someone called Dan Schiffman on YouTube, and I basically learned all of my programming from watching their channel. It's called The Coding Train, and I would
Oh
like
yeah.
very much recommend anyone who wants to get into generative art to just go there and just hang out there for a bit because Dan's work is amazing, and it's just super cool. And then from there, you could look at Tyler Hobbs as a generative artist that I really like. He does really good, kind of more artsy, art focused articles, which is super cool. And I don't know. I mean, you can read my stuff. I've got stuff as well
Yes.
on my site. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. George is a fantastic resource for this stuff. A lot of the stuff that we dug into, he's written articles about, um, and like even just really advanced stuff. He also has this fantastic SVG starter kit. A starter kit is for people who want to get into it, or if you already kind of know it. It's a really wonderful article. His whole website is fantastic.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, I think
uh,
this if you're new to this, like head over to this article to start, and I think this would be a good place to start.
Yeah, and by the way, this little shout out to Liam Egan is our friend in the chat and also our guest for this show next week. So I'm not sure exactly what we're getting into yet. I'm not sure if Liam has like nailed down. It might be shaders, maybe it's some more of this. I'm not sure, but chat, if you are new here and you are loving what George is showing us, and you want to see George Part 2 and Liam, follow, because we're always doing fun stuff here. Yeah, how did this come out good? I was really expecting it to just be a fun train wreck, right? Like, oh, ha ha ha, we did this, but
Yeah,
it's actually pretty nice.
it really came together.
Yeah,
Yeah, something happened there. That was great.
awesome.
Love it.
Yeah, and George, let me just drop your Twitter in here.
Mm.
Thank you, B1Mind. He says, George, you're great. Alex, always a good time. I don't know why I read
Oh,
the
thank you.
compliment about me, but I also wanted to do that. It couldn't just have George get a compliment. Had to go on and read and Alex, you're so funny and great too. Mainly you. Cool. Yeah, George, was there anything else you wanted to share or talk about or anything? I know you've probably
I
got like
think
dinner on the stove, so I don't want to keep you very
I
much
have.
longer. Yeah.
I've got a mushroom and lentil hot pot that I'm gonna go and eat now because
Uh,
I'm really, really hungry
yeah,
and
yeah,
I've
yeah.
got
No,
no
I
generative
I appreciate you
stuff.
being
I
here.
don't
Fun
think.
fact for the chat: George was telling me before we hopped on that the mushroom and lentil thing is completely just flipping coins and rolling dice. Like, well, if it's heads, it's mushrooms. If it's tails, it's
Yep,
cabbage. Yeah, he lives his life the
it
generative
could have
way.
gone
That
so
shirt,
bad.
yeah, that shirt was just a 20-sided dice. Just rolled it and just went with that one. So it's just how he lives his life.
Yeah,
He eats, sleeps, and breathes his stuff.
it's true. I really do. It's it's 100% true.
You're a good sport, George. George, it's always a pleasure to have you. Chat.
Thank you.
Say thanks to George, and let's go raid someone. I'm gonna bring the little stream ending thing up, but thank you. Yo, oh yes. Sorry, one more plug. Thank you, Amit. London CSS. Let's plug that real
Oh
quick
yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, for sure, yeah.
um,
Definitely.
that looks so good.
Yeah, we're down
Julia
to two.
Myasine, I think is how you say her name. Um, Phenomenal. I don't know if you saw, but I tweeted out a Monument Valley in pure CSS thing a few weeks ago or whatever. That is Julia Myasine. If you're familiar with that chat, Amit Sheen in the chat. He was our guest on Component Carousel just a couple weeks ago, and phenomenal CSS artist and lots of other stuff. And George Francis, generative design with CSS Houdini. George, are you going to be talking about where is your site? Your latest specs and stuff? Is this going to be part of it? I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
all of this kind of thing with the Paint API,
Chat,
how
this
to
is
add this like
CSS. This is
random stuff.
CSS Houdini. This is incredible.
Yeah,
So,
it's very cool. It's very cool. I've
yeah,
got lots more of that stuff on the way. Trying to do a bit of SVG and that together.
so cool.
But yeah, I'll have lots more of that
Yeah,
coming
so
soon.
sign up for
And yeah,
this.
definitely check this out. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
It's gonna be
Cool.
really cool.
Thank you so much, George. I'm going to let you go. And yeah, I'm going to have to harass you to come back. So thanks again.
Anytime. That
All
was
right.
awesome. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hang on, chat. We're going to find someone to raid. We'll see you soon.